Hey guys, this is Tyler Zombro with Tread Athletics, and today I wanted to take a deeper dive into curveballs. So looking at our inflection points here, I'm going to walk through curveballs, what really dictates this pitch's success, what should the profile, the shape be like, and really how can we make this pitch a little bit better and see it perform in game. So again, we want whiff rate, this red line, to be above average. We want to see this WOBA line in blue go below average, and that's our parameters for evaluating this pitch type. So to start off with, velocity is the big one here. This is something that we briefly touched on in prior videos, but velocity on off speed is a stronger indicator of success than velocity even with a fastball. And so looking at that, you can see here, once we cross this 80-mile-an-hour line, we have a huge return in terms of whiff rate, and you can see WOBA get below average as well. This makes a ton of sense. When you see a lot of the elite curveballs in the game today, other than a guy like Rich Hill who can really manipulate his to extreme sweeping, depth, etc., overall you're going to see the really hard curveballs performing well. Like a conversation we always have looking at Jacob deGrom, for instance, only averaging like -4, -5 depth on the curveball, but throwing it at high velocity makes that pitch successful. Same with like a Tyler Glasnow, for instance. Him being able to throw that pitch really hard promotes a lot of success within it. So to piggyback off of that, looking at vertical break here, you can see as we move along this line, not a ton of variance. But one thing I do really want to point out is something I think is misinterpreted and kind of destructive towards athletes' development at lower levels / younger ages, is making that curveball kind of as big as possible. So a lot of guys throwing kind of that big looper in there, trying to generate as much depth as they possibly can. And you can see here at the big league level, once you're getting past -12 depth, I mean, there's no return. In fact, it's the opposite, where you can see whiff rate is high and WOBA is kind of high as well. So it's not jumping off the grid to me to determine success, it's kind of just plateauing. So in thinking about that, if you're adding depth to the pitch and you're sacrificing any form of velocity, it's probably not a good decision. That's one thing that we've been able to see here with curveballs and their predictable success, is that the depth really doesn't indicate a lot. Looking at horizontal break, so again, going back to a guy like Rich Hill who can manipulate the sweep component, you can see as we get steep horizontally with sweep, again, kind of plateauing, minimal return. And then towards the 0 line, that's more of that 12-6 profile, you can see some return there in whiffs as well. So in looking at that, I think there's really no way to say, hey, you need to have a 12-6 or you need to have a big sweeping curveball. Overall, they're just kind of staying average across the board there. Vertical approach angle, just like you would predict, the steeper it gets, the more whiffs you're getting. So being able to throw that pitch hard while maintaining that approach angle to throw the pitch down in the zone. I think another component with curveballs that we have to consider is a tunneling mechanism. So you've heard it from old school people from years. You see the curveball pop, you see it jump out of the hand. As you move on to higher and higher levels, that's easily identifiable from a hitter's perspective. And so keeping that in your mind with the tunneling component, even if you're generating this crazy movement that you think might predict to success, you're throwing it at -20 plus, maybe it's dead 12-6, who knows, maybe you even have some sweep with that. But if the velocity's low and that pitch is popping out of your hand and not tunneling appropriately, probably not going to be super successful. So again, to recap with curveballs, overall, with WOBA and whiff rate, you're seeing a lot of these points stabilize around average, except for velocity. Again, velocity is so important with off-speed pitches, gives the hitter less reaction time, and ultimately it's going to enhance that tunneling mechanism to make sure that curveball isn't showing early out of your hand. That's all I have for curveballs. If you guys have any questions, comment down below, and we'll see you in the next video.